Hello and welcome. Today we're going to demonstrate the startup procedure of the Boeing 737NG. This will consist of the CFM56 engine startup procedure and the B4 taxi procedure. The first thing we're going to do is come up to the overhead panel here, get all fuel pumps on with the exception of the center pumps because there's no fuel there. We're going to get the pitot heats on, electric hydraulic pumps will come on, verify that the low pressure lights extinguish when we do get the electric hydraulic pumps on, and there they are for flight controls A and B. Dual bleed light should be illuminated. Left and right packs off, isolation valves open, APU and engine bleeds are on, and verify that we do have duct pressure there. And also that the APU is supplying 115 volts, 400 hertz there. And the anti-collision light is also on. We'll come down to the lower display unit here, verify that we have 2,800 pounds of hydraulic pressure minimum on each system. We've got 2,800 on system A, 2,780 on system B. That's close enough. And the hydraulic quantity is sufficient as well there for systems A and B. And then we'll also verify that we have adequate oil per engine. So we should have a minimum of 12 quarts of oil on for the engines. It looks like we have 20 here, so we're good there as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to start engine number 2 first because we are burning from the left wing tank for the APU. The APU is supplied by the left wing tank, so in order to offset that, we're going to start engine number 2 first. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to move the starter to ground and we're going to time the start. So the starter duty cycle is 2 minutes. And in other words, what that means is the starter cannot run for more than 2 minutes before something bad happens, damage the starter, or maybe worse. So if we don't have a successful engine start within 2 minutes, then we'll abort the start procedure. So we're going to go ahead and start engine number 2 first to ground, and when we do that, start valve should open. We should have some N2 rotation, and we should have some N1 rotation with some oil pressure increasing. At about 25% of N2 rotation, we'll introduce fuel. So the fuel lever will go to the idle position down here. And we should have a light off with EGT rising with a N1 increasing as well as N2. And at 56% of N2, the starter should go to the cutoff position with oil pressure increasing as well. And oil temperature doesn't typically increase until the engine's been ran a little bit, so we've got to warm it up. We'll see that increase very slowly. So we'll go ahead and start engine number 2 first. So engine number 2 is going to go to ground, and we'll time it. So the start valve is open. We have N2 rotation. There it is. Some oil pressure with some N1 rotation there, about 1.2%, 1.5. At about 25%, we're going to introduce fuel. The fuel lever is going to go to the idle position. And there it is. And we should see an increase in EGT at this point. And there it is. Fuel flow as well. Oil pressure. N2 still increasing with N1. And at about 56% of N2, we should have starter cutoff. And there it is, switch goes back to the off position. So it looks like the engine is stabilized, and we do have oil temperature going up as well. And that was the start procedure for engine 2. We'll go ahead and do the same thing for engine 1 and monitoring the start as well. So we'll go ahead and go engine 1 to ground and time it as well, 2 minutes or less. Start valve is open. We have N2 rotation. Oil pressure is increasing with some N1 rotation. At about 25%, we'll introduce fuel. So start lever for, or fuel lever for engine 1 is going to go to idle. And we have fuel flow. We also have EGT increasing. We have a light off there. M1 is also increasing. Oil pressure still increasing. And of course, oil temperature takes some time it's gradually increasing. And we'll let the engine sit here for a while. 56% should have starter cut off of N2. There it is. And there we are. So we have 2 healthy engines running. We'll go ahead and verify that we are getting power from those generators. The drive disconnect lights have extinguished here, which means the generators are connected to the engines, and we should be receiving electrical power. 115 volts AC, 400 hertz on Gen 1, and Gen 2 is also giving us the same there. We can transfer to the engine generator buses, and we see those lights extinguish. We don't need the APU anymore, so we'll go ahead and we'll get the APU bleed off. Isolation valve will go to auto, packs also to auto, and the APU can come off. We'll get the taxi light on, engine start switches will go to continuous, and the overhead panel is basically complete there. We'll also set flaps 5 for takeoff. Auto brakes go to RTO, and we'll do a flight control check. We're going to go left aileron, up elevator, right aileron, down elevator, back to left, go right rudder, and we'll go left rudder. Flight controls are free and correct. We can go ahead and do the B4 taxi checklist now. So generators are on for the engines, probe heats are on, anti-ice is off, isolation valves auto, engine start switches are continuous, recall is checked, auto brakes RTO, and the engine start levers are idle, flight controls are checked, and the ground equipment is clear. And that is the engine startup procedure on the Boeing 737NG. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video and found it informative. Please like and subscribe. Have fun, fly safe, and we'll see you next time.